Welcome, everyone. This is Zach Fine at the Masculinity Therapist YouTube channel, and today I've got Mark Nightingale, a friend and colleague. And Mark is or was the chief mentor or head of mentoring at Abandofbrothers, which is a male mentoring charity that helps young men involved in the criminal justice system, aged between 18 and 25, and it also initiates older men to do men's work and be in a circle, and it uses a rite of passage model. And I've been on some they're called quest weekends. I've been on some quest weekends that Mark has facilitated and led, and they were very, very powerful experiences for me. And I've been in touch with Mark ever since, talking about all sorts of things to do with men's issues. Um, Welcome, Mark. Do you want to say a bit more about where you're coming from and what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just track back just slightly to say that I was the head of mentoring and training
Yes.
with Band of Brothers. So I developed our mentor training and also some of our leadership trainings, and I added to the I'm saying I've actually left Band of Brothers, so I don't actually work for Band of Brothers anymore. But I'm still invested in what they do and how they show up in the world and what they bring to the development of men effectively. So I kind of supported the development of the ongoing development of the rites of passage weekend that you came on. But I was involved in Banner Brothers for 17 years,
Mm.
and I chose to leave. Would you like me to say a little bit about why or
Yeah, I think that's
what my
germane to this conversation,
it kind of is,
because
yeah.
we're going to be
So
talking about something that, excuse me, we're going to be talking about a a different experience that you're putting together in collaborating with some other men,
mhm,
and it's to some extent it's been informed by what you weren't able to do at a band of brothers.
mhm. Yeah, so I've been on a personal journey that slowly but surely went started to go in a different direction to the direction that not the direction that Banner Brothers was heading in, because they've been quite consistent in how they've been uh, how the work presents itself. But me personally, I've been moving further away from some of the process work, etc., that happens on those Band of Brothers weekends, and also how they approach the work with the young men. Fundamentally, the thing was a glaring miss for me was God, and
God.
I've reverted back to Christianity because I grew up as a cultural Christian, I think is the buzzword that people use nowadays.
Mm.
My father would describe himself as a Christian. My mum probably rejected it, but actually growing up, we were christened. We went to church for weddings and funerals, basically. And and when I was young, there was prayers in assembly in the mornings, and Christianity was still quite a big part of school life when I was young.
Mm.
I was in the choir at the St Nick's Church in Newbury, and I also went to Sunday school. It didn't last very long, so I got kicked out because I was naughty. But you know, but yes, so there is a history of a connection with sort of Judeo-Christianity that comes from these lands. And over the years, I rejected all of that.
Mark, sorry,
Yeah,
I'm just going to interrupt because I can hear you so loudly. I'm just going to see if I can figure out how to turn this
yeah,
down.
sure.
Just say something.
Um,
Uh,
Reverting to Christianity. How's
yeah,
that?
that's so much better.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
That's a relief. Okay, so now
Will you edit that or just carry on?
I'll just carry on.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, thank you.
You don't mind
Sorry.
it rough and ready then?
Nah, it's real.
Yeah, fair
So I
enough.
broke your flow a bit there.
Yeah, I don't know where did I get to? Can you remember? Or
So this is
oh
a
yes, I know
this is
where
a
I got to.
Christian land.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got to the place. I was saying that as I got older, I rejected all of that, decided that I was better than all of that stuff, and went on a journey of narcissism, basically, which was I became an actor and I ended up in the acting industry, and I spent years on the stage doing TV work and touring and all the rest of it. But alongside that, as I got older, I started to get involved in men's work. And what the where I've started to move away from men's work is because it's very influenced by paganism, and it's very influenced by a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with Christianity. And obviously, if I'm going to be true to Christianity, then I'm out of integrity if I'm stood there doing stuff that would be considered, you know, some kind of pagan ritual,
Mm.
which a lot of it is. Cherry picked, obviously, is cherry picked from Native Americans. It's cherry picked from, you know, probably I would say South American culture, and also a kind of a remembering of what our ancestors would have done on these shores.
Our pagan ancestors.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Mm.
And yeah, I felt more and more uncomfortable participating in that. I remember
Mm.
I put a Bible on one of the centerpieces one weekend, and somebody said, "Oh no, you can't put that there. It's a bit prescriptive." And I thought, I bet if I put a Quran here, there'd be no problem at all. Everyone would go, "Oh yeah, absolutely, sure, it should be on
Mm.
there." I just thought,
Bit
this
too
is
English.
yeah, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I and so what was missing for me was God. God at the center of it, the recognition that Jesus is our savior. God is a part of a rich ancient tradition that goes back, you know, 1,000 years on these shores.
Mm.
And what I'd realized is that I'd rejected all of that in favor of cherry picking the cool and trendy stuff. And I found I just kept finding myself coming. There were just signs along the way constantly of Christianity.
So this has happened in the last few years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have to say as well, even without the Christianity, I was starting to lose faith in some of the approach. I was finding myself. It was it was hard for me because I'm a leader I'm a level four leader, or I suppose I'm still considered a level four leader with
What does
band.
a level four leader mean to people who don't
A
know?
level four leader is it means that I've gone up through the ranks of abandonbrothers and become a fully paid leader on a weekend. So the buck stops with me and probably usually one other guy on the
Mm.
weekend. So we oversee everything.
And there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of men there, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, on average there's 30 staff members, most of whom are volunteers, and plus on average I would say between 15 and 20 participants. So most weekends would consist of about 45 to 50 men. So you're overseeing the catering, you're overseeing to make sure all of the rituals, the ceremony itself is all held tightly, and that men's, you know, that we honor the tradition that we've created ourselves, and that we stay true to it. And it's a big undertaking to keep that on track for 3.5 days. And especially as the kind of men that we're working with are not always older men. We're working with young men in the criminal justice system. And I can assure you they can be a real handful when they come. So the staff team have to be very well prepared to be
Mm.
able to hold. the energy that those young lads bring on the weekend, because most of them are trying to test to see whether we can hold them or not. So they're constantly pushing the edges of the what we would call the container.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a test for everyone. As you know, you've done it. So
Yeah.
you have staffed a weekend as well,
I've
haven't you?
staffed
You've been
two
either
weekends, I think. Yeah.
yeah, so you've been both sides of the camera, as it were.
Yeah, yeah. I really enjoyed them.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, so that's that's the that's the trajectory that I've been on. There's also been a couple of little things along the way that I just started to disagree with some of the fundamentals of Band of Brothers. And what I mean by that is the fundamental way that they were approaching working with men. I started to feel uncomfortable with what I would describe as the feminization of the men. It was too much talking about feelings, too much about vulnerability and all of this kind of stuff. And I judged that it was actually it was doing the opposite of what it set out to do. I think it feminizes men, and I
Mm.
felt uncomfortable with it.
So maybe that's a good segue into the thing that you're piloting next
Yeah.
year.
Mhm.
It's called Integral Man.
Yeah.
It's actually got a piece. I've seen the outline of the weekend,
Mhm.
and there's a section on vulnerability in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
And it's there in black and white. The probably a big differentiating thing. I don't know where else men could find this kind of teaching
Mm.
on a weekend retreat. Just tell us what it says and what the intention is. What you're trying to transmit to the men that come on this.
Um, well, I'll start with I'm going to butcher this, but it's a quote from Stephen Jenkinson where somebody asks him what he thinks about vulnerability, and he says, "I don't really covet it."
Mm.
He says something along the lines of, "If you're good at talking about what's going on for you, it kind of betrays the idea that you're being vulnerable." He said, "Real vulnerability is a consequence of circumstances that you just did not expect and didn't know how to deal with." In other words, real vulnerability happens to you. So being able to talk about your feelings and being able to express them and all of that kind of stuff, that isn't being vulnerable. That just means you're good at talking about it.
Mm.
But people make the mistake of believing that that is what it actually means. But I think that what we're trying to achieve here is we're trying to help men to see that this concept of vulnerability is very feminine. It's not a masculine way of being. And that might be challenging for some people to hear, but it's not good. And I'll tell you where I'd go next with this is to say that in my experience, women want men to be strong. They want men to be stoic, solid, reliable, consistent, and and to feel safe around men. And if you're sharing your feelings and all of this kind of stuff with a woman, my experience is that they don't feel safe around that. And it's also not very sexy because you end
Mm.
up reminding her of herself. So it kind of breaks the dynamic between the man and the woman. And
Mm.
I think men are being encouraged to think like women, and I don't think it's healthy for us.
Yeah, and I think that there is a myth around that if you're a bloke in a relationship or a marriage and you endlessly name what you're feeling and share your fears and really lean into that, then that will produce a really healthy relationship. But it doesn't help
Not
the
at all.
polarity, does it?
No. She might like it at first
She
for a
might say
short
she wants
period.
it even.
Yeah, exactly. And she'll probably say she wants it, but the truth is, it kills it dead. And I promise you that that is the case. Long term, if you keep operating in that way, it will kill the polarity as you that word that you just used. It's not masculine, and I believe that women want masculine men, and so we're on with this work. We're encouraging men to talk about what's going on for them, but not have vulnerability as a badge of honor, as
Mm.
this great achievement. Yes, talk about what's going on, and if stuff comes up, it comes up. And if you, for example, if someone starts crying, what are you crying about? What's going on? And start getting underneath what's actually going on and just get
Mm,
on with it. And I think it's very, I
yeah.
think it's better for men to work, to spend time with men to talk about this stuff so that they don't have to burden their women with it. And I think it's very important that we educate men to think to understand this dynamic. So that would be my brief example of why vulnerability, why it's important for us on this weekend to break the spell of vulnerability.
Yeah. Because what you're talking about, in other words, is containment. The feminine wants to be contained by the masculine.
Yeah, of
Then it can
course.
be truly feminine,
Yeah,
and it's nothing personal.
not
But
at all.
but a man needs to be able to go and into another container, maybe a men's circle or a men's retreat, like you're creating.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
and talk about the stuff that they might be anxious about or whatever, but talk to another man about it. Don't burden the woman with it because
mm.
it doesn't create the dynamic that you hope that it will. I also, just while I'm on this, I think it turns your woman into mummy.
Well, she has to then take the exit. She has to become the leader, and
Yeah,
she
yeah,
infantilizes
yeah.
the man becomes a little boy.
That's right.
And
She
actually,
becomes mummy, and you're telling mummy all your stuff so that she'll
yeah,
make you feel better about it. It's just it's not
I
good.
remember on a course that we were uh, a domestic violence course we were facilitating, or you were along to see how it was
Mhm.
done, and I was facilitating it.
I had a foot in both camps. It was
You
a
did.
strange experience.
But I remember you called a man out because of the language he was using about his ex-wife, and he was sort of moaning a bit like a boy, like a child would, like, "Oh, I wasn't allowed to do that, and then I got a bollocking for that,"
Mhm. Mhm.
and that the tone and the words he was using.
Yeah.
You called it, and he got it. I think is my
Mm.
memory. Sort of jolted him out of it.
Yeah, because if you're speaking about your woman in that way, you are turning her into your mum. You're allowed, as a man, you're allowed to do whatever you want. You're a man. And if you're putting your woman in the place of, oh, I'm allowed to or not allowed to, what are you
Mm.
saying? You're saying I'm a little boy and she's mummy, and it's a horrible dynamic for both parties.
Creates a lot of resentment.
Resentment and a lot of disappointment as well,
Mm.
which leads to resentment, and underneath that is anger. Yeah. Which perfect segue, because that's another thing that we look at on the weekend. We're going to be exploring because again, with some of the other approaches to anger work in inverted commas, there's this drive to need to express it and let it out and
Scream.
shout and
Mm.
pardon, sorry.
Scream.
Yeah, scream and let it out and all the rest of them. What you'll notice is that most of it's placing yourself in the position of victim. Poor me. I'm shouting at the aggressor, the oppressor, the one that hurt me, etc., etc. And there's this belief that by letting it all out and expressing it and everything and all that kind of stuff, that you're going to feel better about yourself. But really, what I've noticed is that no one feels better about themselves. They might have a moment of feeling like, look at me, but it's an ego thing. It's not actual. It's not really moved anything within you. And what you've done is placed yourself in the position of being a victim,
Mm.
complaining and moaning and whining about something that's happened to you. There's no accountability in that kind of scenario.
Mm.
I mean, what do you think about that?
Oh, yeah, I'm just thinking, what is the theoretical understanding of that? So I've done that many in many different ways. I've been
Mhm.
given these processes that I've tried. One
Mhm.
with an ex-girlfriend. She took me to these woods and
No.
encouraged me to scream, and I did. I sort of scared myself a bit how loud I could
Needless to
scream.
say, she's your ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, but uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it does. Maybe it um It releases inner tension. Okay, but yeah, I can't really get any deeper than that. It doesn't really go that deep in my experience.
Well, it's just catharsis for the sake of catharsis.
Mm.
It goes nowhere. And if you do it in a group setting, everyone goes, "Oh, well done, mate," and give you a
You
big
did
clap.
it,
Yeah, you've
yeah.
done well. Pat yourself on the back, blah blah blah, and yeah, well done for getting it out. But really, as I said, it's just it's ego, and I'm not personally. I don't go along with that as a way of working with anger.
Is there a bit of, I don't want to get in the weeds about this, but there's something really powerful about being witnessed in a group that's sharing grief, or everyone's connecting with grief. Why is that different from connecting with anger and being witnessed by the group?
Well, do you know what? I've started to question that as well, to be honest with you, because at the end, at the underneath grief is anger as well, a lot of the time, and that's also
Mm.
a bit of a sacred cow as well. This whole idea of being witnessed in grief, etc., etc. I'm not so sure about that either. There's a. I think I'm right in saying that in the Bible it says about Jesus says, "Suffer in silence, let the dead bury the dead, and suffer in silence."
Mm.
And there's something to be said for learning to tolerate pain, learning to tolerate difficult stuff that comes up, and not doing anything about it. I talk a lot of the clients I work with now, because I work with Sussex Pathways now. I work with young men in the criminal justice system one to one, and I talk to them a lot about, particularly with anger. I say to them, see it in the moment, notice it, but don't do anything about it. Because 9 times out of 10, in fact, I'd say 10 times out of 10, they don't notice the anger. They're in the anger and then they do something about it. Like they'll do some violence or they'll do some drugs or they'll drink or whatever.
Mm.
And what I'm encouraging them to do is become more present. Be present to the anger, notice that you're angry, and don't do anything about it.
It's very similar to Eastern traditions. I've done some
Mm,
Vipassana meditation
mhm.
retreats, and it's really about observing reality as it is, not how you would like it to be, and
Yeah.
noticing when your body changes when you're angry,
Mhm.
and trying to get to a place where you're not for or against things, but you're just
Mhm.
a witness.
Yeah, it's interesting because I learned a lot of this stuff. Shout out to Jesse Lee Peterson. I've learned
Oh
a
yeah.
lot from him about anger because it's an area that he talks a lot on. And I've been kind of listening to him for over a year now, particularly around this concept of anger. And I've put into practice what he's talking about, and I absolutely agree with him what he's saying about anger, that it really is, for using a biblical term, it is evil. And where I think my faith would differ from the kind of the Buddhist approach that you described. There's a lot of crossover, obviously, but where it differs is that the seeing of it is bringing it into the light, right? And then
Mm.
God takes it away or does whatever God does with it. There's no understanding of that in Buddhism, as far as I know. But there is like I say, there is a similarity.
Mm.
So by being present to it, by bringing it into the light, you allow God to take it away.
Yeah, I guess in the Buddhist tradition, I'm not an expert, but it would be that you are God. You're not separate from God. So
Right.
you're
Mm.
learning to remember the oneness of everything,
Yeah.
and in observing the anger, you can
Mhm.
disidentify from it and avoid
Yeah.
acting out, and basically avoid causing misery to yourself and other people.
Yeah.
But there's
Because
yeah.
the more I think about anger and the more that I've worked using this approach, the more I see how unbelievably destructive it is, internally and externally.
Mm.
It's such a destructive force. And just shouting about it and gets you nowhere. And I know that because I've done 86 weekends with Band of Brothers and stood in circles and watched men shout, scream, and do all of that stuff. and it's made no difference whatsoever. It might have done in the moment, but
Mm.
they're still going home and still fighting and arguing with their women and throwing shit around and sticking drugs in their arms and snorting coke and drinking and doing all the other stuff that they do. And I say that with no judgment of them or that, because everyone has some kind of addictive coping mechanism for dealing with their, in inverted commas, emotions.
Okay, so that's one way, the integral man,
Yeah.
which is piloting next April
Yeah, April
in
23rd
England.
to 26th. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the
So
UK.
actually, we're looking for people who are keen.
Yeah.
So get in touch if.
Yeah, we've got 15 places on a pilot. We're going to be running a pilot in the Oh, can I just say one more thing about this as
Mm,
well? Um, one another thing that was missing for me with for me personally with the Band of Brothers stuff was prayer. So we will be bringing in an approach to prayer that's not nobody's going to be forced to do it or anything like that, but it's going to be offered as a way of connecting with God. And also on this weekend as well. And I think I need to say this here because if anybody's interested, they need to know that there will also be some deep work around forgiveness because I believe that it's by forgiving people that we start to let go of anger. By that's a really important part of the process. And also there's going to be a vigil as well. And what I mean by vigil is that the men are going to be in, are going to go out into the woods and spend the night alone in the woods, contemplating on the work that they've done throughout the first day and a half. And it's a very important part, the stillness and being with whatever comes up and learning through that process to tolerate it and to allow, I'm going to use these words, but others may not want to allow God to do his part of whatever that relationship is. But we have to get out of the way. So to get out of the way, in my opinion, we have to be still
mm.
and get rid of the distractions. So I just wanted to throw that in as well.
Yeah,
So
thank
if
you.
anybody's interested, they need to know that that's the kind of challenge they're going to be facing. It's not
Yeah, so not lots of hand holding.
There's no hand holding. There's no mummying on this weekend. And staff men will be told, no, no mummying.
Mm.
We're not rubbing your back when you're crying.
But this is very old technology, isn't it? That's what Jesus did in the desert. It's what
100%.
I'm trying to think of other people. Um, the one that went to sleep on the rock. He poured oil. Is it Jacob? Poured oil on a rock and it became a sacred site. Anyway, there's something about going out into the wilderness
Yeah,
and finding some solitude and sitting
yeah.
with
Being
whatever comes
still,
up.
being still and knowing God. That's
Mm.
the approach.
And
So
Jesse
we're
Lee,
trying to give what we're trying to do is bring stuff, help men to bring stuff up, but also help them to recognize that the answers lie within them. We're not the experts. We're on the same journey as they are. We all have the same spirit, and we're all wrestling. It's a spiritual battle. We're all wrestling with this spiritual battle between good and evil, right and wrong.
mm.
That's it, really, at the end of the day. And so the weekend is an opportunity to get all your distractions out of the way and have some time to be with God, to be still in whatever way you feel comfortable with. But we're going to give you some instruction that you can use or not.
So it's
We're
it's a
not missionizing people.
right, yeah. So it's a Christian frame, but
Well,
it's
yeah,
not dogmatic,
no,
and
no,
it's
not at
not
all.
some kind
Absolutely
of
not. No,
denomination of
no.
a church or something.
I mean, what I would say though is because it's being done on these lands, we will be posing some questions along the lines of, how has being brought up and raised on these lands influenced the way you think about certain subjects. So, for example, if we have a Muslim guy on the weekend, the question still stands: How has living growing up in a Judeo-Christian country, how has that influenced the way you think about yourself? How has it influenced your family dynamics? And how also has it influenced your connection with God and your faith? Because you're coming into a country that isn't a Muslim country. So that would be an example of
Mm.
something that would be really beneficial to explore collectively as well, so that we can learn from each other.
Yeah, so it's got balls this weekend. It's saying that this is a Christian and English frame, and
Yeah,
it's not about being the same for everyone. It's actually an exploration about these lands, this heritage, these ancestors, this experience of life, and how desolate and empty it's become. I mean,
yeah.
it's been
Poverty
stripped away.
stricken.
Yeah.
Poverty stricken, yeah. Yeah, it's not Christian nationalist, which is a big thing at the moment. I'm
Mm.
not a Christian nationalist, but I am a nationalist and I'm a Christian because I love this country. I love England. I love the fact that I've been born and raised here, and I'm proud to be born and raised in such an incredible country.
Mm.
It's brought so much good to the world. Obviously, it's brought, as with all countries, it's brought some dark stuff as well. But there's a lot to be grateful for and to celebrate as a result of being born to this place and this time as well. It's not an insult that we're born in this time. It's a gift.
What's the gift?
The gift is here's your opportunity to overcome your hell. Here's
Mm.
your opportunity to get closer to God in a time when people are more and more disconnected from God.
Mm.
And I would use the language of that's the devil. The devil doesn't want us to be with God. He wants us to be alone, disconnected, not belonging to anything, and hating on each other and being angry, violent, and evil, basically. So that's how I would frame it.
So we've dropped into this place at this time in an incredible start of an incredible battle that
It's
we're
amazing.
outnumbered. But that's the way it always is, isn't
Yeah,
it, in the Bible?
yeah, yeah, exactly. We're in the Old Testament, and the New Testament is available to us. You know, that war,
Mm.
I'm just using this as an example, but the war that's going on in the Middle East, that's been going on since early passages of the Bible. It's because people are separated from God. Mad.
Mm.
But having said all of that, though, I now know that I'm only responsible for me. I'm not responsible for any of that. I'm just responsible for this spirit, this soul that lives within this body, as are you and as is everyone else. And I think the weekend I'm hoping will illustrate how accurate that is and how much if you can really take responsibility for that, how much good you can bring to the world as a result of being responsible for your anger, for your, how you show up in the world.
Mm.
I mean, that was the message of Jesus. He was a peacemaker. It's one of the Beatitudes is blessed are the peacemakers.
So what's the link between that and manhood and masculinity? That ability to
Well,
own
I think,
everything. Go
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. I think that Jesus is the ultimate alpha male. Doesn't get much more alpha than him. I'm using these phrases, obviously, they're loosely because they're buzzwords that are around at the moment. But in terms of masculinity, I think that men need to know themselves. They need to stop making excuses. They need to be closer to God. I believe in the order of God, God and Christ, Christ and man, man over woman, woman over child. I believe in that order, and I believe that's a masculine order. And I think men need to find their way back to the Father, that through their literal Father, which is why the forgiveness is so important, so that
Mm.
they can be with God and act from that order and bring more structure and order to the world. That's our function, our role within society, and I think we've lost our way, and we've allowed ourselves to become more and more feminized, and I don't think it's serving our culture, and I don't think it's serving men in general. And worse than that, I don't think it's serving women and children.
It's definitely not serving children.
No,
I mean, if you
we're
look at the
putting,
prisons, almost
yeah,
everyone in there didn't have their dad around.
100%. I mean, like I say, I work with men in the criminal justice system. Nearly every single one of them either had a weak father or no father at all.
Mm.
What it shows me is how important men are and how important good fathers are for our sons and our daughters. So, you know, something like this, I think, is really important for us men to get our heads together and get our heads straight, and so that we can bring peace and stability to our families, to our communities, and beyond.
Mm. So who might this course, not course, this what do you call it?
Experience.
Experience.
Mm.
How does a man know it it's going to be up his street? Isn't yeah.
I would say if he's wrestling with his identity, if he's having any kind of spiritual or existential crisis in his system, but he has a sense that there is something out there that could help. I think that would be good. I think any man who's struggling with getting access to his kids, any man who's struggling with relationships with women, any man who still has the spirit of his mother in him and he can't free himself from it. Any man
Mm.
who's angry at his father, angry at his mother still, come along.
Mm.
Any man whose relationship with his children has broken down, uh, that pretty much covers every man, basically. But or let's throw in any man who thinks they've got it sorted and they know all the answers. Let's get them on as well,
Mm.
because they might have something to learn. They also might have something to teach us as well. So, you know, that would be my yes. And one last bit to this: any man who wants to face their pain and is wanting to stop with the bullshit and actually wants to just face it. Well, this is an opportunity to start that journey.
This is about being challenged.
Yeah, yeah. And we're not there to push you. That's up to you to do that. And we're going to
Mm.
use nature and prayer and other things that we'll bring to the table that we I'm not going to say everything here, but there are other things that will be brought to the weekend that will help to um, bring some of that to the surface. There'll be some passages from the Bible, not as a preaching thing, but as an opportunity to kind of fellowship around. And there will also be some storytelling as well, old English stories that have been around, maybe some poetry also,
Mm.
as a way to uh, bring stuff to the surface.
Yeah, I've
It'll,
always really enjoyed it when you read poetry on those quest weekends.
yeah, yeah, I
It
think it's
it,
important.
it hits hard.
Yeah. Well, it's a language that speaks to the soul, in my opinion. And sometimes the thing about poetry, you don't have to understand it always, or you don't have to understand the whole piece. There may be one line or one word that touches you in some way and brings something to your consciousness that you weren't aware of. That's why poetry I think, is so powerful. But
Mm.
also, to be careful as well to cherry pick the poetry, because quite a lot of it can be sentimental or it can be sending a message that we don't want. There's a great Rumi poem, actually, if anyone's interested, called The Core
Ah,
of Masculinity.
yeah, I
Go
love
and
that.
read that poem, and that poem is our weekend. You'll know what I mean when you read it.
Mm,
We'll probably read it on the weekend. We will definitely read it, but it's worth many, many readings and listenings.
mm.
It's a great poem.
Good. I think you've given a pretty good feel
Mm.
for the
Yeah, I hope so.
experience. And
Remember, it's a pilot. We've never run it before, which is why we're looking for men who are willing to be part of an experiment.
mm,
It might actually just descend into complete madness. I don't think so. I'm confident that that our higher power will bring structure to it as long as we stay true to it. I think
mm,
it'll be good. And also, manage your expectations. I'm not responsible for what any man gets out of it. And to be honest with you, I don't care. I'm responsible for this man. We visioned this thing, and we hope that it's going to be useful, and that men will find it useful, and it will inspire them to um, to to bring some of what they've learned into their marriages, into their lives, into their relationships, and how they operate with their children, and how they operate in the world generally.
mm.
What do you think?
I I see in my work as a therapist that lots of men are lost. I suppose I've got a bit of a, obviously the men that are coming to me are struggling the most. So I'm not seeing the ones that are doing really well and are completely stable and structured and everything. But I do see themes, and one of
Yeah,
the themes is a sense of confusion around how to about what's an acceptable way to show up as a man, and what's an acceptable way to be masculine. And I think a lot of men, especially younger men now, are feeling frightened to be strong,
yeah,
and they don't think. I'm interested in what I'm calling male friendly therapy, which is mad to have to say this, but male friendly therapy is therapy that empathizes with men and doesn't want them to change their way of being masculine,
mm, mm,
and wants them to be strong, and sees masculinity as a source of well-being and strength
mm.
that can really nourish men and their partners and their children and their communities. And that's still amazingly that's a kind of niche position in the therapy professions.
It's wild, isn't it?
So I think the therapy professions have become very feminized.
Totally
I was
agree.
talking to someone on this show the other day, Martin Polikoff, who used to be the chair of the UKCP, UK
Mm,
Council for Psychotherapy. He was chair from 2016 to 2022, and he said we were talking about the feminization of the industry,
mm.
and it's okay that it's not a bad thing per se that it's dominated by women, but it's just where do men get this? Where do they get guidance, and where do they get this sense that it's okay to be strong and to
Mm.
connect with their inner core masculinity and their deep drives? That they're not something to be ashamed about. They're actually absolutely essential. And that if
Yeah.
you look around at this culture at the moment, it's not well.
Mm.
People aren't doing well. Families aren't doing
Yeah.
well.
I think it's important that we decide what a man is and don't let women tell us what a man is. And if women are telling us what a man is, then we're in trouble.
Mm.
And men need to decide for themselves and stand on that and be true to it and not apologize. And I see a lot of apologizing. And I believe personally that a lot of that's to do with their mums. They have not overcome their mothers. and they reject,
Overcome.
yeah, overcome that that spirit that's in all of us from our mums. Because most of us, our primary carer was our mother.
Mm.
And if the father didn't have strong influence on that woman, then she's gonna make you like her. Not not because she's I'm not pointing the finger at women. I'm just saying that's just logical. So that's something that we have to overcome as men, to be men. And most men, myself included in relationships I've been in, most men turn their woman into their mothers, and then they wonder why they're arguing all the time. It's not a good look.
Mm.
Happy wife, happy life. It's a mess.
Mm. Yeah, there's a bit in there's a book called The Superior Man. You probably know it, by David
Mhm,
Data, and
mhm,
he's talking about if your girlfriend or wife asks and begs you to say not go away and do the thing you've got to do for work or for some other reason, and you actually cave in, that's actually the last thing she really wants deep down. She may not realize it, but it's completely necessary to have that tension between a man's drive and his purpose. It doesn't have to correlate. It doesn't
100%.
have to be always aligned with what the woman wants to do there and then.
100%.
So maybe that's about a man having self-respect and and the woman respecting his agency and autonomy and
Mm.
leadership.
Yeah, and if you're with a woman that doesn't, then you should leave, in my opinion, because you're literally walking into hell. Because it's not the order of God.
Hmm.
I could go on a little bit further, a
Go
bit more.
on.
No, 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 I'm not going to get into that because there's the whole story of Adam and Eve and blah blah blah, all that business. But you know, the man listened to the woman. He made the woman his God, and look what happened. He was separated
Hmm.
from God because he made the woman his God. How many men make women their God? Put women on a pedestal. They don't want to be there, but they'll take it.
Hmm.
But it's not healthy. I remember I was with a woman some years ago, and one of the first things she said to me was, "Don't put me on a pedestal." What do you think I did? My training was put her on a pedestal. I didn't even know I was doing it. Needless to say, it crashed and burned.
What does that mean then? Does that mean
Letting her lead
not?
everything, letting her be the decider. She's
Yeah.
she's mummy, she's final word, blah blah blah, all of that kind of stuff.
Let me just check with the boss if I'm
Let me
allowed to
just
go and
check.
play
Yeah,
golf or whatever.
she wears
Yeah.
the trousers in our house, and men are proud to say that. I'm like, what is that? You've just admitted that you basically are a simp and that you've emasculated yourself in your relationship,
Hmm.
which is hell for everyone. And I'll tell you who suffers the most in that is if you've got children, because they witness that dynamic.
Hmm.
There's a lot to be said on this, but obviously we're just kind of scratching the surface. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a mess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which
It
is
is
why
a
I
mess.
think things like integral man are needed. Obviously, we don't have all the answers, but we've got some good answers. We've got some good questions, and we've got some good what would I say?
Problems.
No, no, I was going to say we've created a space
Mm,
for this stuff to be explored without you having to look over your shoulder.
mm. Yeah, so if anyone watching
Mm.
fancies it, let's get in touch. Yeah, how can people find you, Mark?
You can, it's interesting. We are in the process of website building and getting all of that stuff together at the moment. It's happening. We've fully funded for the first weekend that we're going to run. We're going to ask for donations for the first weekend because it's a pilot. So we're not going to be asking men to front up a load of cash to come on this weekend until we really know that what we're delivering is worthy of asking men for money. We'll offer a bursary for men that don't have much money, but for this pilot. So for now, um, I would say, can I give you my email address for now? Well, because a lot of this stuff has been set up at the moment.
Mm.
Um, so my
I'll put
email
it.
address. You
I'll
go.
put it. I'll put it below the video, but you can say it as well for
Yeah,
someone who's listening.
markjake55@msn.com. But you've got it anyway, haven't you?
Yeah, I'll put it in the
Yeah, put it on
notes.
the and if anybody wants to come and do it, let me know. April 23rd to 26th next year
2026.
in East Sussex. I need to say that as well. So it's in Vertwoods, which is near near Lawton in East Sussex. It's a very beautiful part of the world.
Mm.
It really is, yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
it's a pleasure.
Um, yeah, let's leave it there,
All
and
right.
see you soon.
Yeah, take care, buddy. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.